8 ancient Gnostic women leaders. Number 1. Salome, disciple of Jesus in several Gnostic texts, including the Gospel of the Egyptians, founder of the Carpocratian Gnostic sect. Number 2. Marcellina, founded Gnostic church in Rome in the 2nd century, taught social egalitarianism and led multitudes away from orthodoxy. Number 3. Helen, one of the 30 disciples of John the Baptist, consort of Simon Magus, high priestess of the moon, and later leader of her own sect. Number 4. Miriam, 1st century seer and priestess from the Euphrates marshes, who founded a group of Gnostic Baptists that evolved into the Mandeans. Number 5. Mary Magdalene, main disciple and companion of Jesus, seer in her own right, honored by several Gnostic communities and in apocryphal texts. Number 6. Miriam, disciple of James the Just and founder of the Nassenes or serpent-worshipping Gnostics. Number 7. Mary the Jewess, quoted by Gnostic mystic Zosimos of Panopolis. She was an inventor and is considered the first true alchemist of the Western world. Number 8. Jezebel, Nicolaitanian leader mentioned in the book of Revelation, prophetess and seductress, whose teachings included the deep things of Satan. Data taken from church father accounts, Christian folklore, and apocryphal texts, including the Nag Hammadi Library, as well as the Gnostic New Age by Dr. April DeConnick, a dictionary of Gnosticism by Andrew Phillips Smith, and The Other Goddess by Dr. Joanna Kuyawa. The very women of these heretics, how wanton they are, for they are bold enough to teach, to dispute, to enact exorcisms, to undertake cures, it may even to baptize. Tertullian, Prescription Against Heretics, 41. Where there is smoke, there is the fire of ancient priestesses that cannot be contained by the simulation. Sophia Rising. For more gnosis to expose the simulation, visit the Virtual Alexandria, thegodaboveGod.com. Happy heresies, and welcome to the desert of the real. Welcome to Aeon Byte. And as you've seen by the intro, as I keep saying, you won't find a movement or a thought that promotes the divine feminine more than you will in Gnosticism. And I, even in that list, I left a lot out. And that's something we've been advocating and promoting for many years, even as the world continues to ignore us. But they can't ignore us for too long. Ignorance is not bliss. It is a trap, that prison of your own mind, as Morpheus said in The Matrix, or as William Blake called it, the mind-forged manacles. And we're getting out. And I am so happy that you are here for this mission. My name is Miguel Connor. And it is good to see everybody, however you are listening on this Thor day, on this Jupiter day. Welcome, everybody, to this age of Hermes, this Philip K. Dick world, and these Gnostic times, and Sophia is rising. And with us today, I am very, very excited to be joined by Andrew Harvey to discuss a book that I thought was incredible and really amazing, and certainly you should get immediately, and that is the Magdalene Revolution. Andrew, thank you very much for coming on the show.
It's my absolute delight and honor. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is all ours for sure. And also with us too, we've got Graham Pong. Graham, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Wanting to hear all about Mary Magdalene.
And you shall indeed. So awesome. As always, if you have any questions for Andrew, please super chat them so we can get them through the din of the forum and the chat room, if you would. Of course, if you are a member, we'll grab you and we will take your questions. Yes, this is an open podcast. Because of the important topic, but there will be some gated ones soon, including the Anunnaki Revelation with Dr. Heather Lynn, as well as having Angie Speaks to talk about Jung and the apocalypse and UFO. So a lot of good content coming from Aeon Byte. Please support, become a member for exclusive content, or like, subscribe, or just tell everybody about the place you can find, the only place you will find unique Gnostic takes that are loyal to the ancients, but also work in our modern world. So enough of that. Andrew, tell us about how you came to write this book. As you talk, this book needed to be written because we are facing is what you call the global dark night. Why is Mary's message so more important than ever? Beyond reading the news, which is obvious, right?
Oh, well, first of all, my friend, how lovely to actually be in your atmosphere and your devotion to this tremendous evolutionary adventure we're all on right now. At the core of this adventure, I think, is the challenge that love is calling us to meet. And that challenge is to embody love as completely as we can. In every thought, in every emotion, in every action, in every political, economic choice, in every law, in every way we unite with the one that is reality and that is us. And that is appearing to us tremendously powerfully at this moment. And one of the ways in which it's appearing most powerfully is in the return of Mary Magdalene to the full glory of her authentic position at the core of the revelation. His consort, his co-equal, a teacher of sublime brilliance and power in her own right, someone who, in the end, birthed herself as a female Christ, completing the truth of divine Christ consciousness by the unity she lived with him and him with her. This is an astounding opening up of amazing possibilities of experiencing love at an embodied intensity of transformation in a way you never have before, to bring you right here with everything you are, willing to give everything you are for the birth of a new humanity and a new way of being and doing everything.
Really well said, and I couldn't agree more. And for the audience, Marianne Williamson endorsed your book. If only she had won the presidency, it might be a different world, but perhaps in another dimension, in another parallel dimension.
She's such an amazing force, and I love her dearly, and she's been such an incredible champion of everything I've tried to do.
Good.
Yes, amazing.
Good to hear. And the book didn't come, we might say it wasn't conscious. You were meant to write this book. Tell the audience about your encounter in Baum in France, right? Isn't that, I'd say, the genesis of this book?
Yeah, oh, thank you so much. Yes. This book was born from a direct vision, a vision that completely destroyed my sanity for 20 years, didn't know what to do with it. Couldn't do anything with it. It had to work on me. I went with a group of pilgrims to the cave where Mary Magdalene spent a lot of the last 30 years of her life, in. And I went in, and this was 20 years ago, and I felt this great peace. And then I came out, and then I read the description of what the church had written about what she was supposed to be up to in that cave. And I felt this tremendous outrage because they depicted her as unhappy, penitent, stripping herself. And the idea that someone who'd seen her beloved transfigured in the resurrection would ever be at any fundamental level unhappy again is so insane. So I started to walk down the valley feeling this pain and rage, and turned, and there she was herself, standing like a golden tower before the cave. And I saw her with my open eyes for about 30 seconds. She just was blazing. And there was Mary Magdalene back at the core of the revelation, the whole story. You cannot know the whole story without her story being part of the whole story, and his and her story being part of the whole story. And how wonderful that now we're coming into a time when we can embrace all of the release and freedom and joy and power that this new story, which is the old story returned, can give us.
It is, yeah, and it's something that the ancients knew. And at the beginning, you talked about female Christ. Now, some people in the mainstream might hear this and going, what is Andrew talking about? Mary Magdalene, a female Christ. Tell us about this this huge wrinkle in theology.
Well, it's not actually a wrinkle in authentic mystical theology, because what the true Christian mystics discovered is that Jesus came to Jesus others, to Christ others, in their own unique way, to give people a path that if they followed it, would birth them into their own essential divine human selves. That's him. And then their love, this field of love, is now revealed as giving human beings even more support from the depths of their passions, from the depths of their sexuality, from the depths of their hunger for union with another person, giving them a vision of what that sublime sexuality that they lived can actually accomplish, the multiple marriages, the multiple miracles, the multiple wonders that can be done from it. And when you combine all of those visions, you have a very strong map for how we can get through this next period, aligning ourselves with this explosive and tender and transformative and grounding and irradiating love force, letting it bring ourselves together and experience this new humble service that flows naturally from us when we're in that state of love.
But who is Mary? Again, why is she a co-Christ? I'm assuming this has to do with this sacred marriage and everything. She is the other part, the anima, the Sophia joining with the logos. She is what completes the whole grand plan for unification. Is that who Mary is? Or tell the audience who Mary is as a co-Christ.
Well, one of the great thrills of having written this book is having explored the three great streams of holy sexual truth in the hidden Jewish tradition. And I believe that Mary is bringing together all of these opposites in her own essential divine human self. And the first stream is the first temple stream. In the first temple, Yahweh was worshipped as transcendent, but the goddess was also worshipped, Asherah. Mm-hmm. And she was worshipped completely. She was worshipped in sexual holy rites. She was worshipped in groves. She was worshipped in dancing. And then terrible massacre of the feminine happened, but the truth burnt on secretly in secret covers of holy people who kept it alive. And that is one power that Mary is. She's a Shira returned to Yahweh. Then there's the astounding tradition of the Song of Songs, which is the great mystery hidden at the core of the Old Testament, the mystery of an ecstatic, complete, tantric love poem of bride to bridegroom, both inside the psyche and in the body, in actual passionate commitment of one whole being to another. And Song of Songs mysticism was taught late to Kabbalists because it was so explosive. And what it helped people do is to get over the last terrors of body contamination, the last terrors of sex hatred, and enter into the great bliss energy of loving that explodes when two human beings who adore each other, who venerate God in each other, come together in total communion. And that's who Mary Magdalene is. She's the Shekinah coming back, the returning bride, the one who is now revealing the ecstasy of embodiment to the incarnation, incarnating him more deeply and being incarnated herself more deeply.
Beautifully said, and couldn't agree more. So this also changes thing on Jesus's own sexuality, doesn't it? Tell the audience the fusion of eros and agape and everything.
Thank you for saying that, because that is actually my favorite part of the book. That is my favorite moment. Dear friends, this book was a product of many, many decades, but I couldn't have possibly have done it had I not been guided by this sublime Christian mystic, my soul father, Falby Griffiths. And I remember about 15 years ago going to talk to him about Jesus' sexuality. And I said to him, I find this completely absurd. If Jesus isn't sexual, then sexuality is unredeemed, and that's a huge part of human life. So the incarnation isn't working. This is complete madness. And he laughed and he said, you're completely right. Of course you were sexual. But then he said something so wonderful. He said, the real question is not whether Jesus was sexual. The real question is, what would a being so suffused by love on every level, what would their sexuality be like? How amazing, how sublime, how tender, how wild, how holy. Would it be like to love like he loved her? What would it be like? And that changed everything, because it made me go deep into my soul and think, what does that word mean, sublime sexuality? And then I asked him, because I had a great saint in front of me, a great prophet, and the sweetest imaginable human being who'd been through everything and gleaming with joy. And I said, what is this new love that we need to get with? Why is it so important to bring the feminine back completely so we can have the fullness of this love available to us in sacred marriage? Why? And I asked him, what do you now understand as sublime sexuality? And he gave this completely incredible definition. And I just want to share with all of you listening, this is so beautiful if you really deeply think about it. He said, sublime sexuality is eros and agape, desire and selfless love fused together, transfigured by adoration of the other in God and as a manifestation of God. It's such an extraordinary definition because it brings together everything that they've tried to separate. It brings together the deepest sexual passion with the deepest sacred honor and reverence of the other's essential being. And it brings together all of the ecstasies in a transfiguring experience of being a human and a divine being. It initiates you into reality. And that is what he's saying. Eros and agape, desire and selfless love fused together. And this incredible, only Bede could have done this so beautifully. He did it so beautifully. He said, transfigured by adoration of the other in God as a manifestation of God. You're making love to your beloved, but your beloved is also God's living message to you right now. And you are in that conscious relationship of your entire being with that theophany. And that is an amazing initiation. And that is what Jesus was offering. And that's what he lived with her, and that's what we can connect with. It doesn't shrink the amazing beauty of what he gave us, it expands it to incorporate everything, always now.
Beautiful. That is really beautiful. In your book, well, on this show, of course, we've talked ad nauseum about Mary and Jesus' role in the Gnostic Gospels, from the Gospel of Philip, where Jesus says it was his favorite disciple, kissed her often on the mouth. Other texts, Sophia of Jesus Christ, Pistis Sophia. Mary's always there with him as a co-equal. They're both sharing this cosmic gnosis and teaching those with ears to hear. And your book obviously talks about the Gospel of Mary, goes without saying. But I love your insights, Andrew, in the New Testament, because you bring also new revelations that even I hadn't heard. So let's unpack some of that. And later, if you want to talk about the Gnostic Gospels, take us where you need to go. But the wedding of Cana, tell us about what you learned about the wedding at Cana.
Well, I have always been completely obsessed by the wedding of Cana because I've always understood beyond thought that if the first miracle of the Christ was at a wedding, that says everything you need to know on every level about the source from which all the miracles are coming.
Mm-hmm.
He is a living wedding of spirit and matter. Everything is coming from his living wedding. And his living wedding, and I'm going to be direct about it, turns out to be his own wedding to her. Because we now have the gospel of the beloved companion. We now know that the wedding of Cana was the wedding of Jesus and Mary of Bethany, Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdala, the tower. We now know that. So, how astounding, bringing all of those forms of sacred knowledge together to show the secret at the heart of this revelation, which is the secret of what's born in us when we allow the sublime divine feminine love energy and the sublime divine masculine love energy to come together inside us to birth us into a new level of dynamic evolutionary love presence ourselves, so we can be co-birthers with them of this great yes that they have opened up in us, for us, as us. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and as you say in the wedding at Cana, Mary, the Mother Mary, isn't just a nagging mother. Well, she kind of is, but
I know.
she is an incarnation of Sophia saying,
She's Sophia. She's saying, "You do it." It's in plain sight that Jesus is totally attuned to the sacred motherhood of God because his first miracle is prompted by his own mother. He's not doing anything until she tells him to do it. He obeys her as the living incarnation of Sophia, the embodied divine mother. And it makes it even more extraordinary when you realize that this is his marriage. And what is he doing when he's changing the, the water into wine? What is he doing? He is showing that the divine human love between Mary Magdalene and himself is the gift of his marriage to all human beings, to open them up to the marriage of the masculine and feminine within them, to bring them to the next level of their authenticity and presence and wildness and truth. It's beautiful. It's very hard to put into words. That's why it took me so long to write, but I feel it's there now to help people to experience this for themselves. And they can. Yeah.
mm-hmm. That's what they came to teach us. And there's a scholar, my friend, I believe Ray Taylor told me this, but when you read it in the Greek and in the context of the culture, when Mother Mary is saying about the wine, it's actually an ancient euphemism for blood. And she's talking water to wine, as they understood it, was the hymen. In other words, Mother Mary is like, and it's true, she says everybody's drunk at the wedding, but the wedding cannot end. You have to consummate the wedding as the couples did in those days. And Mother Mary's like, you know, you gotta, and Jesus is like, man, I'm having a good time. I don't have to go. I don't want to go up to the hotel room yet. And I'm sure Mary Magdalene was having fun, but that was it. She was urging, turn this water to the blood of the breaking hymen so that we are one. So
that's very beautiful too. God. And why not? Why can't we simply just bathe that kind of scene with our recognition of the utter holiness of all the people in it?
Amen. Amen. The other thing
would change everything, wouldn't it? Because we would stop trying to put all of this into some tidy little category. We would be really relating naturally to the utter sacredness of what's happening between these astonishing people who are also us, because we have their passions and potentials within us, and they can help us so much develop these kinds of nakedness and courage ourselves. It's really a very direct relationship. It can be if we want it. It's not a hidden mystery for the few. It's open for everyone who just takes that leap of humility into this very intense love field that they are.
For sure. And also, too, when Jesus is resurrected in the traditional story in the Gospel of John, Jesus like, you know, don't touch me and this and that. What was really going on then?
Oh, God, of course not. There's so many different versions of that. And thank God I really discovered what I believe to be the real one. And it's from several later sources, 6th, 7th century sources, which claim to be collections of bits of her teachings. And in those fragments, you see that he says, do not touch me, because his body is so supercharged with the nuclear transfiguring energy of the resurrection that if she came close to him and touched him, she'd be incinerated by that power. So it's not at all repelling the sentimental Mary Magdalene, the woman, while he ascends it, saying, don't touch me because this will kill you. I'm still ascending. This power of the central force of love in the universe that is resurrecting me would electrocute you at this moment. And that was something that Blake also understood in one of these fragments of his letters. And that makes a great deal of sense to me, mystical sense also.
No, makes sense. And there's also the story of Mary being possessed by the 7 demons.
Well, that is...
What's going on there, Andrew? What's really going on there?
Oh, you asked the right guy. Well, let me tell you, it's not 7 demons. She is not crazy. That is a patriarchal distortion designed, unfortunately, to completely flatten her rule, because it fits in totally with the other one that grew, that she's a prostitute and that she comes to him crazy because she's been such a bad prostitute that her guilt is returning to her to ravage her. And then she finds him and is transfigured by him. This is not what happened. Not. There's a much deeper story obviously present, and we don't know all of the details, but to me it looks like this. She wakes up herself early in her life, and she sees very clearly the divine presence, but she also sees the complete horror of what it is to be a woman in her time, to be marginalized, treated as insane for the intensity of your emotions, denied certain access to certain kinds of wisdom, although innately aligned to that wisdom. She sees all that and has a terrifying initiation in her youth herself. And there is a great Sophianic text which I think gets very close to the real story, where she's sold off in marriage to some Babylonian fat, awful, ghastly manipulator, and she's in total shock. And then the caravan is intervened by pirates who then sell her into degradation. She escapes and she goes to that room in Capernaum, not possessed by 7 demons, but completely shattered both by the intensity of her revelation of the divine and also by the intensity of her experience as a humiliated, broken, shattered, marginalized, degraded woman of immense soul dignity. And that is a completely different story. And that is a story, I believe, worthy of the truly extraordinary meeting of opposites that took place when those two met, and a story that would help explain, if anything could explain, the miracles that love made possible.
Right. And what happens in Capernaum? They gaze at each other. Tell us about, that's also a beautiful part.
Oh my God. Well, what happens is that she's at the back of the room, finding it, I imagine, almost impossible to believe that this man could be real, having seen through so much, suffered through so much. And he comes in and he looks at her. And in that look, there is a transmission of a vibration of love energy so intense from the whole of him to the whole of her. And all of her inner centers open, and she sees him as fire, light, and truth. She sees him as Jesus in that room in Capernaum, but she also sees him as his divine Christ self. And just as importantly, in that look, he sees her as her female Christ self, as the being who has been through everything that he has been through in his intimacy, not able to share with anyone, but able to share with her completely because of the depth of her soul and the depth of her suffering and the depth of her absolute relentless sincerity, her hunger for liberation, her hunger for absolute freedom.
Beautifully said indeed.
And that's how I feel it. I hope it reaches people. It's so beautiful. But everybody has their own way into this amazing story. I've offered mine in the hope that it will awaken yours, because this is a story that somehow changed, that takes place, of course, with them, but it also, as you enter it, starts to take place within you. It matters very deeply because of what's at stake in such a story, which is really the revelation of the nature of love itself. What is love itself? What is this power capable of? Their lives are an extraordinary answer, and the power they unleash is an extraordinary answer.
Indeed. And looking at this super chat, the real wisest serpent, thanks for that, Ray. He says, Simon and Elena, not Jesus and Mary, much love. And 7 sermons are her lovers before Simon. And that's a beautiful one, because you have, obviously, Simon and Ellen is this parallel story, the same story.
Absolutely.
Might be the same power couple of ancient times.
It's very difficult for me, as you probably could guess, to get off my Magdalene fixation in this, because I've experienced so much. So forgive me if I stick to it, but it is such an expanding, soft, and wonderful revelation when you let it really come into your heart.
Yeah, it's almost the very foundation of reality. It's almost
Yes.
it's certainly the keys to our own individuation, wholeness. That's my microphone is acting weird. Graham, do you have a question, or what say you?
Oh, I do. I was listening to Andrew, and what occurred to me is the church has brought back more veneration of Mary, but has been more focused on the Virgin Mary. And I was wondering what his thought was, is they're trying to bring back also Mary Magdalene, veneration of her, but without a lot of the complete feminine nature, without a lot of the sexuality and such. What do you think about that, Peg?
Well, the fundamental truth is that it will not work like that, because you can't just sit there and decide which part of Mary Magdalene, having silenced her for so long, you're going to bring back when there is this massive, subtle, beautiful movement from many different sides, bringing her true reality back. So my position is to let the church do whatever it thinks it wants to do with this, and pray that it will humble itself before the evidence of Nag Hammadi Gospels, before the pioneering work of great feminist mystics like Cynthia Bouchot and others, before all of us who have really plunged totally, sincerely, and deeply into all of the sources and brought this treasure back. But I'm not counting on it because that's not how I believe it will work. What will, I believe, happen is that clusters of those of us who recognize this truth and want to be guided deeper into our own radiant embodiment through this truth, they will form and we will help each other and we will build this quietly in the middle of the storm. It'll be like moss growing in a hurricane. And that is a different model. That's always been the model of the Magdalene because it's such an explosive truth. It doesn't need to prove itself. It's just coming to those already prepared for it.
Yeah. I remember what Carl Jung once said, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's power. As long as these churches and religions cling to the concept of power and control, they're not going to get the love. And the gaze connection between Mary and Jesus. It
Yeah.
reminds me, there was Rumi used to do this exercise with Shem where they would look into each other's eyes lovingly and connect their
Completely.
souls. Do you think they were doing something similar, Andrew?
Oh, very much so. I think the the practices were very simple, actually. It seems that Rumi were doing with shams when they were in, and the most important one seems to have been this going into deep sacred meditation, gazing at each other and gazing in that state that Bede is saying of seeing and knowing the other as a manifestation of God, as this love that you have for the other, as a reflection of that eternal love for the eternal beloved. And how amazing to be gazing like that with that adoration in your whole being, looking out through your eyes. That's the oh yes, I think when what really happened was that when they had gazed at each other in Capernaum, he summoned her tenderly and he and she left for the desert. This is the most extraordinary detail because they both went into the furnace together. They went into the one. They went into being stripped of all fantasy, facing things as it really was, to merge in adoration, in lovemaking, in mutual teaching, in mutual silence, in the rapture of the desert, the final purifying rapture of the desert. And then they got married at Cana.
Mm-hmm.
But this is mind-blowingly beautiful and unifying when you allow it to work on your psyche. And it doesn't destroy the church, it invites the church to open its arms to this next gorgeous possibility. Let's do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Is there any of the Gnostic texts you want to talk about? Obviously, I was very happy you bring up Thunder Perfect Mind, which I feel is the most poetic, unique, transcendental, and inspirational ancient text that's ever been written. It's amazing that something like that was created, and it's amazing that the archons allowed it to come out of the deserts of Egypt because it breaks every rule in
Every
every theology and every philosophy that could be broken for this
and it's
victory of the divine feminine.
you could please read a part of it yourself, please, because it is such a manifesto of the Magdalene in full truth. That force that's coming back as above, as below, everything united and paradoxical. It's such a manifesto of this complete power.
It is indeed. And also, I mean, obviously, Mary Magdalene, her legends continued even in early Christian times. Romantic stories came out. France, medieval times, her stories were all over. The Cathars really honored
Well, she
her.
went to
Knights
France.
Templar.
She went to France after the resurrection. That, I believe,
What
is,
happened?
well, there are many possible legends, but the upshot of it is that Mary Magdalene actually went to the south of France and lived the last part of her life in south of France as a fully empowered female Christ, having gone through the resurrection and the ascension and been liberated herself in the what we've discovered to be the tremendous vision that she was given just before Jesus left by of her own ascension, and that she continued to do miracles, to teach, and then withdrew to this cave and did the last miraculous work in that cave of knitting together the resurrection light that she'd been irradiated by into every part of her mind, every part of her body, every part of her bones and cells, and forging a new kind of human being and grounding that process in the human DNA, being the mother of the process that then flamed out in many, many secret Christian mystics and others, and now is flaming out everywhere. This is a huge deal. Yes.
Now, you also talk about the great tree of her ascension. What is that for the audience, Andrew?
Oh my God. You are flinging these pearls and diamonds.
That's my job.
I know, the pearl flinger. Well, what happens in this extraordinary vision, which happens probably just before the crucifixion to prepare her for going through the horror in that great peace that she seems to have gone through it. And in this vision, Jesus shows Mary Magdalene her complete being as a tree,
Mm.
as a massive tree. And this symbol of your entire being as a tree is a symbol that has been tenderly worshipped in nearly all the great mystical traditions, especially the shamanic traditions, the traditions of South America, and the Kabbalah, which is dedicated to this being the central image of the universe. So that tree of life is revealed to herself, as the emerging divine human self that she is becoming as she goes from branch to branch. And he explains each branch as having a guardian that tries to stop you taking the golden fruit of that branch. But when you get past that guardian, you will get the golden fruit, and that will take you to the next level. And when those levels are integrated, all of them, you will be so naked and open to love that you will be taken up into the final experience of this great ascension vision, which is her unifying herself with a woman in white, with the divine mother at the core of reality, with Chokhmah, with divine mother, divine mother beauty, and being her living incarnation in the same way that the Christ would be the living incarnation of the father side, the sacred masculine side. This is the birthing process of the female Christ as revealed in her by this vision. It's an incredible, and then lived out for the rest of her life in the cave and in what she was able to do, the healings, the initiations. She was living that new life of the new creation that was the resurrection, that was the baby of their divine human love. It's an amazing story when you see it. As
It is. It is. And well, I guess The $1,000,000 question comes next. We talk about Mary Magdalene ascending, France. The Holy Grail. What in the tarnations is the Holy Grail, Andrew?
Well, the real point of the book is that the Holy Grail is her and it's us. The Holy Grail is the container, the vessel of the sacred blood. And the container of the vessel of the sacred blood is you and me, transformed by love, purified by love, impassioned by love, inhabited by love, ruled by love. And when that vessel is golden, then we are revealed to ourselves as living grails. Mary and Jesus came as beings who birthed the grailing process, the becoming divine and human. And they are the brothers and sisters who are the warrior midwaves of this birth with us, around us, giving to us, encouraging us. But we have to do it ourselves. And that requires that surrender to the rapture.
And do you think Mary had children with Jesus?
They had something, they may have done, but I think if we discovered who they were, it would be a red herring. And the reason is that their true child was something much vaster than any lineage. It was nothing less than a transfiguration process, a divinization process through human love, taken to its ultimate pitch of divine knowledge and divine self-donation and divine sincerity on everything. And I think that is the true communication. That's the teaching. And that is the revelation that comes through the Magdalene Revolution, the revelation of how beautiful, in fact, our lives are meant to be, lived from that unified center of love that they did.
Well said. As we're getting to the top of the hour, Graham, do you have any questions on your end?
No, not really. I just want to thank Andrew for explaining about Mary Magdalene and giving all of us some more insight in it. Thank you, Andrew.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. What a joy for me. Thank you. I hope it was clear. How was it for you, Miguel? How was it?
Clear. I have a couple more questions, if you don't mind, because the audience, your book is beautiful. It's poetic. You do your history, but what advice would you have for people? How do I reconnect with Mary Magdalene? Or what can I do? Because we can read a book all day, right, Andrew? Yes. What can we do to really access the anima, the divine feminine, Ashira, Tiamat, whatever you want to call it?
Well, I would love to just offer you a very simple way of connecting with her. If what I'm saying is arousing something in your heart, then have a look at some of the images of her on the internet and see if there is one that is calling to you with tenderness or intensity or something that evokes something in you. And you might just invent a prayer for yourself about, please show me your true face in me and in you and in me. It's a way of establishing a relationship with the true divine feminine as it appears through its ambassadors, through its manifestations. And then start gazing at that representation of her in silence and tenderness. Link your heart with hers. Just open your heart center. Don't be elaborate. Just start asking her to reveal more of herself, of the truth of the great love between her and Jesus, the truth of the greatness of what love can be in us. Ask, establish a tender relationship of grace, and then all kinds of subtle miracles will start happening.
For sure, yeah, and as you said, read the Thunder Perfect Mind. Sometimes I tell people, read it while it's raining outside, and if it's thundering, just make sure you take shelter. Go out right there into the love, but it will transform you, or get the Gospel of Mary, where she has to go through these spheres, these archons, and face wrath and envy and these shadow parts of herself, these cosmic beings. You reimagine the Eucharist through a Sophianic lens, don't you, Andrew?
Oh, yes. Well, I don't think there's, this has been known throughout the tradition. There have been great mystics who've really seen the Eucharist as a mother mystery, because he is sharing his body and his blood in a conscious mother-like way. A mother shares her body and her blood for the embryo. Jesus is showing just how unified with the mother mystery. She's been anointed by Mary Magdalene within the anointing, and now in him, as he approaches this tearing apart to become a birther of a new creation that he himself is going to go through. It's so extraordinary when you see the Eucharist like that, because that means he is being a mother, giving of his own essence as a mother gives, to birth in you when you take the Eucharist in that intensity of love, drinking it as a feminine mystery from him. It becomes completely real for you. It becomes explosively and tenderly real. It becomes a memory of unity exploding in the cells itself. It's amazing.
Beautifully said, and I couldn't agree more. Well, we are getting towards the end. A little housekeeping, as always. Yeah, please support AM Byte if you can. If you're looking for some voiceover work for a movie or commercial, keep me in mind. I'm spreading that out. Also, as we move further into this wonderful year of peace, and as I keep saying, we need the Gnostic wisdom more than ever. Andrew's a perfect example with his book. I'm expanding for 15 years. This has been an independent one-man brand dedicated to the quest for gnosis and
Wow.
personal sovereignty. So, and my little podcast gets between 150, 200,000 downloads a year. So that ain't whistling Dixie. It ain't bad. So I'm looking for limited sponsorship or partnership slots. I'm looking for brands that align with my mission of writing your own gospel, living your own myth in the realms of digital privacy, financial independence, and biological sovereignty. So if you know anybody or you're interested in becoming a sponsor, I am just throwing that out there. And I think that's it. Again, we got some great shows on the Anunnaki. Next week, we'll have a dedicated show on Sophia, Second Temple, Gnosticism, Jung, and UFO. So the Gnosis keeps coming. So please support me so I can keep this red pill cafeteria growing. And I think that's all I got. Andrew, I have your website on the show notes. Do you want to tell the audience your website or where you would like to send?
Harvey.net. I'd love to know you. I'd love to meet you. I would love you to come on one of my pilgrimages. Look at what I'm up to and see.
So you do pilgrimages to France still, or?
Yes, I'm taking an amazing pilgrimage to France this October with Sacred Earth Journeys. It's an amazing, extraordinary initiation on the land itself, which of course amplifies the vibration and the depth of what's being transmitted beyond words. I went last year. It was a revelation, and I would love as many of you who are thrilled by the possibilities opened by this to come with me. The book is one thing, the transmissions that take place in her field of fire are something very different.
For sure. Well, check it out, people. Check out his website. Graham, thanks for keeping us company.
Oh, it's my pleasure as always. And again, thank you, Andrew.
My great pleasure. Thank you, Miguel. God bless you. Beautiful time.
Thank you, Andrew. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, really loved your book. And let's keep bringing Mary back, help her return
Let's do
for
that.
the Hierogamos, the sacred marriage. And for everybody else,
For everybody.
it's for everybody, as above, so below, as within, so without. And
Why not? Let's do it. Bless you, man. Thank you so much.
thank you very much. And for everybody, I really appreciate your company. You guys are amazing. You're going to do so many wonders. And I am so happy that you are here. And until then, as I say, and I'll say it again, write your own gospel, live your own myth, take care.
What is this lost tradition called Gnosticism? This ancient art of inner knowing and blissful transcendence. Those mystical teachings of individuality that brought the wrath of the Church and other institutions across history. Is it possible to learn about the Gnostic secrets of primordial goddesses we can still call upon? Heed their warnings about alien beings keeping us in bondage in a terrible simulation? And feeding upon us. Can we discover today and use their timeless rituals that caused expanded consciousness and astral flights? That unleashes our inner light and divinity? And the original teachings of Jesus and Mary Magdalene that promised a world of dignity and freedom for all living beings? Yes, you can, and so much more. From the Gospel of Thomas to the Gospel of Mary. From the teachings of Simon Magus to the mystery of Abraxas to the revelations of Sophia, it's now available in one course. Enter the Virtual Alexandria Academy. Know the unknown and the reality beyond reality.